But
we're not going to confirm or deny that The Rock uses steroids.
I will not.
He busts through the wall, grabs Robbie like Batman, takes him down.
Welcome to this week's Top 5, brought to you by the Nerd Cave Network. I am Derek, and I am joined along with, as always,
Zach Dykes.
And Robbie Rawls.
Guys, WrestleMania is this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, yeah, dig it. So I was thinking we could do a special wrestling Top 5.
Why?
Why not?
What?
Oh.
What? The World Heavyweight Championship is the most important thing in wrestling, or it should be anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're going
Stephanie
to be...
McMahon is the most important thing in wrestling.
She's definitely one of them, that's for sure. But we're going to be listing our top 5 World Heavyweight Champions of all time. It can be from WWE, WCW, any wrestling company. So Zach, why don't you kick us off with your number 5?
My number 5 is a man that got into wrestling quite late in his career, but one of the greatest champions to ever wear the belt. And the guy that I'm talking about, of course, is the man himself, DDP. Diamond Dallas Page.
And if you want, you can get his fitness videos from...
Check out DDP Yoga.
He was one of the best. He knew how to work everything. He was great in the locker room, just knew how to work every aspect of the wrestling game. And he was just awesome to watch. He was a firecracker in the ring for being so old.
And my biggest thing about him is how he got the crowd, and he used the crowd a lot. Like, he pumped them up.
He would take a small child and beat his opponent with
Exactly.
said small
That is
child.
the best
Well,
thing
it
I've
was
ever
really
seen.
rewarding to see him win the belt, because he was 42 when he won his first world championship, and to him, getting into wrestling so late and then him winning it was really cool to see, because he honestly deserved it.
Yeah, he did. He was a hard-working man. So this is your year that you're going to win the belt, right?
Maybe.
Because he's so old.
Yeah. Derek's earned it. WWE.
2017 is the year.
2017
is the year of the Derek.
And then he completely retires.
Hey, well, you're supposed to go out on your back, but
Yeah.
It happens. Mine is just for old time's sake.
oh god, Great Khali.
The Great Khali.
Did he actually win the belt?
2007,
Yes,
baby.
yes, he did. He was world heavyweight champion.
Why?
For a very brief period.
WWE
Why?
was very bad in the late 2000s. It's bad now, but in the late 2000s, it was
Was
awful.
that the start of the PG era?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there
2008
you go.
was the beginning of the PG
And see,
era.
he was so PG because nobody could understand what he was saying.
He could actually be saying like something really explicit, but nobody would know. I'm sure somebody in India is just like,
I'm going to kill you. What did he say?
The goat.
what?
But like I said, I've always liked this character because he was always the underdog,
troll.
and
He was a
I
troll.
trolled my friends very much about that. So, Shabadoom! But that is my number 5.
My number 5 was champion during another era when WWE was not so great, but he was so good in the ring. He was a great ambassador for WWE, and that would be the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, Bret the Hitman Hart, who is recovering from prostate cancer, which is very good.
Oh yeah, that was a huge bit of news. Good news.
Yes. Not the best talker in the world. Like, he wasn't that exciting on the microphone, but he always delivered in the ring. Like, you always knew his matches were going to be good no matter who he wrestled. And he was great outside of the ring. He would do a lot of things for charities, kids, really any fans. Like, he was always nice to the fans. So to me, a great champion is someone who's great in the ring and is good outside of it. So
And that's what I like, is when they do have that good, solid foundation with the crowd, because there's a lot of people who are just douchebags and don't really care.
Jericho.
oh, come on.
Hey, he was like during that era when he was the best. Like his persona, the heel Jericho.
He lived that persona.
Oh yeah. There was. I remember him going on Kevin Smith's podcast where someone asked him in the parking lot to give an autograph, and he refused to do it. And then,
because he lived that character outside the ring. But that's one of the reasons why he was so good.
Yeah.
That, like, as great as he was as, Y2J, and he had the long hair and was really flamboyant, but when he totally reinvented himself and was just, like, super serious, soft-spoken, and he was just evil, that was one of, if not the best thing that he ever did. Because if you can take yourself and just totally reinvent it and be just as successful, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. Says a lot. Like this gentleman right next on number 4. Right next.
Right next.
Right
I like
next.
it.
Y'all. Sting is my number 4.
Love Sting.
Sting, amazing. I really didn't watch Sting until he was on WCW and he was wearing the black crow paint. And this man knew how to work every angle again. This is kind of a... Other than the next person on my list, knew how to really work every angle. And just him coming out of the rafters, the baseball bat, his, fight against Ric Flair. Those were some of the best matches, I think, were him and Ric Flair going back and back. And just amazing. I loved him. His moves, his tone and everything just fit like what I was wanting. Yeah. Yeah.
And even before then, when he had the multicolored face paint and he had the short flat top and he was blonde, he was great.
Oh, yeah. And he was a tag team partner with the Ultimate Warrior. So what else can you ask for?
Yeah,
I don't feel like there was ever a really bad period for Sting. Like, I felt like he was always...
He was always relevant.
Yeah.
Wolfpack. I love that one. The red paint. Love that.
Oh, yeah, it's my turn. Sorry.
A dog in a shirt.
Do y'all smell something in this room right now?
Yeah, a dog in a shirt.
The Rock. The Rock. And I bring it right back. Yeah, we're going to keep beating that like a...
Oh, yeah, like a steak. That doesn't make sense, but
not
a
at
steak.
Your point is still well made.
Mine's The Rock, because it goes back down to the pump-up factor that he has. Not the pumping, but the pumping up the crowd.
That looked like he was shooting up.
Roids, man. That's how they get on top. But
We're not going to confirm or deny that The Rock uses steroids.
I will. Not.
He busts through the wall, grabs Robbie like Batman, and takes him down.
But because he was such a great person inside and, like you said, outside, he really connected, like, especially with me. Thoroughly enjoyed watching him, and enjoyed seeing him outside the ring in all these movies and stuff like that. So being able to be, great in the ring and great outside of the ring is something that really, besides the Great Khali, really gets me. I know Great Khali sucks, but I mean, it's...
My number 4 also comes from the mid-90s era of wrestling, and he was Bret Hart's biggest rival, and that would be the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels.
Oh, yeah. Sweet chin music.
Sweet chin music. Shawn Michaels. Real name, Michael Hickenbottom.
Good name.
Yeah, good thing he changed his name. But no, like Bret Hart, he could wrestle anybody. He could wrestle, a smaller guy, and it would be exciting. He'd wrestle someone like Kevin Nash or The Undertaker.
Gosh, I remember those Undertaker matches. Were we all at your house for that one?
Oh, those were so good.
That was so sick.
They were so good. But there's a phrase like he could wrestle a broomstick. And he would make it look good. Because that was him. He could wrestle anybody.
I just pictured him like...
Broomstick wins by submission. Because he gets a splinter. But no, and also like Bret Hart, during that time, he wasn't that great of a talker, but got better.
Yeah.
And he also founded one of the greatest factions of all time, Degeneration.
Oh, yeah. And he put out Ric Flair to pasture.
I was there in person for that.
Lucky.
It was sad.
I could imagine.
It was really sad.
I can only imagine.
But Shawn Michaels was great. Like the feud that him and Bret Hart had for the championship when they traded it back and forth was great. It was a highlight during a time where there weren't that many highlights. So I had to put both of them on the list.
I agree. I like that one. My number 3 is a man with a few words. He had some amazing entrance music. Just one of the brightest spots in the WCW. Some people probably thought I was about to say Undertaker, but I'm not. I'm going to say Goldberg.
Goldberg.
Just amazing. Just the raw power that man had in the ring. Just where he would spear somebody, get up again, spear him again, jackhammer. Just the raw power he had. And when he first got introduced, he didn't say a word. He was just stoic. He just came to the ring, just came in, whipped everybody's butt, and left.
Well, especially when he would stand in the fireworks, and you're like, how is this guy doing that? And then he would walk to the ring. His matches would be like 2-3 minutes at the most. He'd spear the guy or give him the jackhammer, pin him, get up, leave, and everybody would be going nuts.
And what was his streak? Do you remember? It was something ridiculous.
It was close to 200. It was like 170... I want to say 178, something like that. It was ridiculously high.
Yeah.
He went for like a year and a half of not losing. And I think he's the only wrestler who won the championship who was undefeated at the time.
See, and that's why he's amazing to me.
When they packed, on a Monday Nitro, they packed the Georgia Dome, which is where the Atlanta Falcons play. That's somewhere they would have like a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And they packed that place out for just a weekly television show. And that was when he won the championship.
Yeah, and he's a native of Georgia as well.
Yep.
My thing about Goldberg is just energy. He had that energy, and like you said, he would spear somebody, get back up, and he could. Well, I mean, his matches only lasted for 3 to 4 minutes. I guess you don't need a lot of energy, but he had that, and he had the wow factor of being, like you said, so powerful, so strong, and
he was very Ultimate Warrior-like, that he wasn't on top for very long compared to some other people, but from what little he was, he made a huge impact.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of my favorite memories of playing a video game, WCW Mayhem, the intro was them like in this control room making a wrestler, and the wrestler turned out to be Goldberg, and like everything started going wrong, and like he just bust out and like just start whipping everybody. I'm just like, this is awesome. So he's my number 3.
okay. My number 3. I gotta act out his little thing.
Randy Orton.
I
like it.
I remember doing that at your house after wrestling one day. I think I speared Jake. I hit somebody.
It was either Jake or Willis. It had to be.
Luke was a little bit too big for me to. I was a small fry back then. But Randy Orton, because he is, out of all the, I guess you say, the newer people that were around at that time, he was one of the more exciting people that I actually enjoyed watching, because I didn't really. I watched the older stuff. The newer stuff really didn't pique any of my interest until I started watching and seeing, Randy Orton just sometimes getting his butt kicked, but most of the time he was.
Randy Orton's very good, like, in the ring. Like, he's so smooth. Like, everything he does just looks flawless.
Effortless.
Yeah.
I love that he's become an internet meme, the RKO. That is my favorite thing that's come out of wrestling other than the John Cena thing.
Yeah.
I think the RKO is my favorite by far. Just where he's just like, he crawls up and then he's like, boom! Best thing ever.
Anytime someone falls, you can make a RKO meme out of that. Like, it's beautiful. It's always beautiful.
Even they've kind of went off of that a little bit. Like, he'll do the RKO in really cool ways. Like at WrestleMania last year, he fought Seth Rollins, and his move was the curb stomp, where he would jump up and his foot would land on the back of their head and he would just drive it in the mat. Well, as he goes to jump up, Randy Orton tosses him up, RKO's him like in midair.
That is awesome.
And beats him.
Oh.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It was great. My number 3 is one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time, synonymous with wrestling. He's one of the first people you think of, and that would be...
Great Khali?
No.
Oh.
The Texas Rattlesnake.
Oh, yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah. The reason that I got into watching WWE, and part of the fun was just watching him try to get the championship more so than him even being champion. Because every week he would try and get some type of match. He would screw over Vince McMahon. And then next week you would be waiting, like, you know, what ace is Vince going to pull out of his sleeve next? And that feud went on for like almost 2 years. And I remember actually being disappointed when it was over. But during that time, you know, he had several championship reigns. And I mean, he can't, you know, not be on my list because he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And he was... You could make the argument that he's bigger than Hogan.
Yeah, you could almost do that.
He has to be in the top 3 at least.
Oh yeah, him, The Rock, and Hogan.
He has
and Macho Man would be the 4th.
He has his own beer, so he has to be.
I do want to try that at some point. What if they had released that during the Attitude Era?
God.
That would have sold so big.
More than Natties do.
Yes, exactly. Everybody would have been drinking that.
Oh yeah.
Did you see the video of him trying like different drinks?
Oh, that was amazing. He reacted exactly like you think Stone Cold would react.
Can't remember. He said some other.
It's like sex on the beach. Who would have sex on the beach?
You get sand everywhere.
What?
Some of the things that he said on that was hilarious.
I've said it before, but his podcast is great. Like, there's the family-friendly one, and then there's the Unleashed one where he just says whatever. He cusses so much, but it's almost like an art form. It's just so great. I love it. But yeah, Stone Cold's my number 3.
My number 2 is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, The Rock. No, not Electro. That's comic books.
Wrong subject.
The Rock. Robbie said it pretty well with him being able to be in the ring, out of the ring. But him going from being this just baby face where everyone hated him, saying Rocky sucks, to becoming the freaking people's champion, to be the one wrestler that in that era everyone wanted to be. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin was the other side of it, but The Rock was the person that everyone wanted to be. People wanted to hang out with Stone Cold, but everyone wanted to be The Rock.
Yep.
And just his presence, you know, he became, you know, he had the different eras where he went through different reiterations of himself, where he was, you know, the man, where he's working with Vince and all of that, where he's turning on Vince and just all of these different things. And he keeps making himself different. He goes from this wrestler and then he goes into Hollywood and everybody's like, oh my God, this is going to be another, you know, horrible attempt, because a bunch of wrestlers, Kane, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Hulk Hogan, tons of them have went and tried to do Hollywood and sucked at it. But he has went and just...
He's one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
Oh, yeah. He's been in the best franchise in the world, and that's Fast and Furious. And he's going to be Black Adam.
That's going to be so good.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait.
Sick.
I can't wait.
He might be The Rock, but in our hearts, he will always be the Pebble. Pebble.
I was there for that too. That was so great. Funny story about that was when he inducted his dad and his grandfather in the Hall of Fame, and everybody was chanting Rocky, and everybody was wondering how he was going to act because he hadn't been at any WWE function in 4 years. So he comes out and he's just talking like a normal person, and then he just kind of stops and he's like, wait, something's not right about this. And he reaches under the podium and grabs a wireless mic and then goes, finally, The Rock has come back to Orlando, and everyone just goes nuts. And I was one of them.
Oh, I can imagine.
I would too.
Yeah, but the one funny Rock story, you're talking about the different iterations. One of my favorites was when he did originally go to Hollywood and he did the Scorpion King. And then he came back as a bad guy. He was like the stuck-up Hollywood actor, like he's too good for WWE now. And he did this concert. And they were in Sacramento in California. And you guys will appreciate this because you're both NBA fans. So he's singing this song about, it's called Leaving Sacramento. He's talking about his favorite thing about being in Sacramento is leaving it. But let's see. I don't remember what the first line was, but the second part of it was, I'll be sure to come back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May. and he got booed like mercilessly. Like there was no cheering whatsoever. Like there were people wanting to jump the rails and strangle him.
Wow.
That's how great he was, that he could go from 1 minute being the most loved person to where you just despise him.
Oh yeah. So what did y'all think of him, the Scorpion King?
Like the
movie or him?
Scorpion, or
like how he portrayed the Scorpion
I
King.
never watched it. I only saw the Mummy version of him being the Scorpion
It was
King.
okay. I mean, it was just like the Mummy.
Oh yeah, I thought it was. I mean, I didn't think it was great, but I was like, it's The Rock.
Yeah,
so.
and it was his first major movie, so I mean, can't expect a lot.
Okay.
Kind of like anything with Robbie.
Like this episode.
Anyway, Robbie, you're number 2.
Is it my turn? Yeah, it is.
Bolton case of Bolton.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Batista.
Batista has made my list once again. Only because of pretty much his walkout. Like, that's the only big thing that I like about him.
Well, Batista was really cool.
He was, like, everything about him is really cool. And now he's, you know...
Now he's Drax the Destroyer.
He's Drax. And so, I mean, he's just a really cool... He seems like a cool person outside of the ring.
Oh, he is. I've listened to interviews where, like, some of the younger up-and-coming guys, because they don't really make any money in WWE, and they were trying to get... I can't remember what tag team this was, but they couldn't get a room in this hotel. And Batista just happened to go in the lobby as they're trying to get a room, but they don't have enough money. So he just walks up, buys them a hotel room.
Good man. Good man.
So like,
I
you're okay in my book, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Except when he gets drunk and calls the bad guy to come fight him. It's a bad idea.
That was a horrible idea. And he paid for that dearly.
And his inability to understand metaphors.
Yeah.
Nothing can get over my head.
You can go over my head. I'll just catch it.
My reflexes were too fast.
My number 2 is a very controversial person, but you can't deny what he did for wrestling, and that would be the real American himself, Mr. Hulk Hogan.
That just won
This just won a lot of money.
What was it, like 12?
115 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, 115 million.
Granted, what he was doing was really messed up because he was having sex with like one of his best friend's wives, but...
Hey,
he was filmed doing it and didn't know it and didn't give permission to do it. So I mean,
yeah,
you understand why he won.
And he's a racist.
And he is a racist. But
a very wealthy.
But when it comes to the wrestling aspect, you can't deny what he did. I mean,
in the ring, he was awesome.
When wrestling was pretty much dead, he took the entire WWE on his back and he ran with it. He was WWE champion for like 4.5 years at one point, and you know, anywhere he went, people followed in droves. And he's one of the reasons that wrestling is what it is today.
Hulkamania.
Exactly.
There's no way around it. Hulk, he went from Hulkamania to one of the best bad guy heel turns I think that's ever happened with Hollywood Hulk Hogan. And starting the NWO was probably one of the best things that he ever did, because the NWO was the coolest thing that happened to WCW. I always liked Hulk Hogan. Yes, he's a bad guy at this point in time, but hopefully he can see the light and
but
not be a
at that
racist.
point, when he was our favorites at our age, he wasn't a bad guy. He was just super awesome. Like, I remember having the stretchy arm toys of him and Macho Man and playing with those. Like, he was such an awesome.
You can never get past. Everybody's wanted to do it. Everybody's wanted to do it where you just grab your shirt and just rip it
off.
You know, every boy, I don't know about girl, but I know every boy that's ever seen Hollywood Hulk Hogan has always wanted to just rip a shirt. And where he gets up, he's like, and then just destroys somebody. That's
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. But there's one more beautiful than him. And that's,
Tell me.
That's the man, the legend himself. He's gone by many names. King of the Ring at one point in time. Had the most beautiful manager that's ever been a manager, that's ever managed anything. Miss Elizabeth
I do what I can.
was a angel. But
Such class.
yeah, I would actually put her as my number one world heavyweight champion if I could. But Macho Man Randy Savage, he was my number one wrestler. But his reign as the heavyweight world champion was well deserved. He worked his butt off to get there. Yeah. He is an amazing promo cutter. He's one of the best promo cutters. Him and Ric Flair are probably the two best in my opinion. But he just was so great in the ring. He started the high flying stuff, the risk taking when he was first started, jumping when someone was out of the ring, he'd jump out and hit them and all of that. And that was something that people really didn't do when he first got into it. And he just become this really larger than life. And when he went to the WCW and he became where he had the entourage and all of that, that's where I was kind of like, okay, but
yeah, his last run in WCW when he changed his persona or whatever. Yeah, that was kind of strange.
But the capes, the extravagant outfits, that's what made me love Macho Man.
The guy used pomp and circumstance as his entrance theme, and you think about how ridiculous it sounds, but when you see it,
but it works.
It works.
It's the coolest version of pomp and circumstance.
Question: would y'all snap into a Slim Jim for him?
Ooh, yeah.
I don't eat them, but sure.
I don't either, but
and I've tried to make a case of being able to use that pomp and circumstance on a special day in the future of my lifetime, but I've been told no. Unless it's the recession, the dinner thing, then we can use it, but not the main thing. You know what I'm talking about.
This is a good number one.
Yeah, thank you. Robbie?
My number one is the king, I feel, of acrobatics in the ring. That is Rey Mysterio. The one that does all those super cool flips and spins and so many other really cool stuff. And the mask, how he changed it all the stinking time. He was just one of those people, like I said, I like the people who are super energetic and super exciting to watch. And I felt like he was above all the rest at that time. So
I love Rey Mysterio. Yeah. I remember first seeing him in WCW, and I'm like, this guy is the greatest wrestler I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
because you would not turn away from the TV. That's something that WCW had that WWE never did. Is they brought in the international stars from Japan and Mexico, and they would do these really exciting matches.
Yeah,
and it just added, and that's one reason why I love WCW is because it had such a different styles. I mean, you had your main eventers like your Hogans, your Kevin Nash, your Stings, Ric Flairs, but you also had the high flyers like Rey Mysterio, like Eddie Guerrero, other even people from Japan.
One thing that I always liked is he was so small, but it didn't matter what size the other guy was, he would fight him.
The Kevin Nash fight, where Kevin Nash went up with the powerbomb, and Rey Mysterio reversed it and won.
Flipped him, and then held his legs and pinned him, and that place went nuts.
That is one of the best moments in wrestling, in my opinion.
Absolutely. That's where it gets back to the excitement factor. You don't know. He could be in one of these things that are so hard to get out of, and he finds a way to reverse it, and it's by this spectacular acrobatics. So.
And I remember when he actually won the championship after Eddie Guerrero died. He won it at WrestleMania that following year, and I just remember being really happy because even though he was a smaller guy, he deserved a championship run.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
So, I like Rey Mysterio.
I do too. Love him.
My number one, when I think of any type of wrestling champion, this guy comes to my mind. He's synonymous with wrestling. He is a wrestling fan's wrestler.
Sheamus.
He is the 16-time world heavyweight champion. He's a limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun, and that would be the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Woo!
Woo! You alluded to it earlier. One of the best talkers ever in pro wrestling. When he was on TV, you wanted to know what Ric Flair had to say. And the fact that he had so many championship reigns, and a lot of them were so long, too.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he would hold the title for 6 or 7 months, lose it, win it back 2 weeks later, and then he'd hold it for another 6 or 7 months.
Oh, so what you were saying about like him being the best talker, I don't think there will ever be another talker as there was with him.
John Cena. Or Carlito.
I actually liked Carlito.
But back to Rick.
But Ric Flair was just, he had all the catchphrases. Like I said, the limousine riding, jet flying thing. He was so interesting, and he didn't do a lot in the ring, but what he did told a great story.
Yeah.
And he always made his opponent look good. And when he was NWA champion, which eventually became WCW, he would go to like Florida, the Carolinas, he would go farther west, like to Texas, and he would travel regularly, and he would defend that championship in all types of different territories. So he would fight, people with such different styles like every night. And that to me was what made him a great champion, and his longevity. Because he wrestled till 2008.
Yeah, he wrestled a long time, and I really liked Ric Flair. He actually was one of my favorites for a very long time until he started taking his clothes off in the ring in WCW.
That was a bad time.
And I was just like, what is he doing? Because I really, like his robe, I always wanted a Ric Flair robe. And just the music that he would use, he had that style and the figure 4 deathlock. Just...
Like when his entrance music starts, most people think of like the Elvis entrance from all his old concerts. I don't think of Elvis at all. I think of Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because I was also there for his Hall of Fame induction where he talked for like 2.5 hours. And that's no exaggeration. But just seeing like how much the industry, and even like he brought up championships several times, like hearing how much that meant to him. And then, getting to see his retirement match was it was special. And it's like one of my things that, like, favorite experiences that I've done with like all my fandoms, that's close to the top.
I can imagine. And he was a dirty fighter too.
Dirtiest player in the game.
Oh yeah.
Let him play, ref. Let him play.
Any honorable mentions?
Yes. Let's see. We have Sting,
Sting, yeah.
Macho Man, The Rock. I probably will not be very popular when I say this, but if we were doing a top 10, I would put John Cena on mine. Just because of this era, he's
been the face.
Yeah, he's been the face, and honestly, his run as the face of the WWE was longer than Austin's or Rock was. He's been the guy for just over a decade.
I would say Honky Tonk Man, but I don't think he ever was...
Not world champion.
He was Intercontinental.
If we were doing Intercontinental champions, he'd be up there.
One that was pretty big was The Undertaker. We did mention him.
Yeah.
But Triple H.
Triple H, yeah. Triple H won, I think, 14 championships. Well, he's champion right now as we're recording
Mick Foley.
Seeing him win the championship for the first time was so awesome because the place went crazy. I remember DX picked him up on their shoulders and carried him around, and then he ran around the ring, and he even got on the microphone and he said, "This is for my 2 little people at home." Talking about his kids.
That's great. That's just great.
Yep.
So
don't forget King Booker, baby.
Oh, Booker T. Booker T was one of the coolest wrestlers in the ring, and just knew how to cut promos too.
Yeah. He seems like such a cool guy.
Well, you want to hang out with that guy.
Yeah, Booker T's great. Yeah. Super underrated.
Yeah. So there's our list, guys. If you have a list of top 5 world heavyweight wrestlers, champions, I don't know what I'm saying at this point. Let us know in the comments below.
I don't even know who I am.
We also have our top favorite wrestlers that we did a few weeks back, so check that out as well. And guys, keep coming back. If you have a top 5 suggestion, let us know. Derek, where can they find us?
We're all over social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at Nerd Cave Network, and we also have an amazing Facebook group, which you can find at facebook.com/group/NerdCaveNetwork. Nerd Cave Network, and now I have to put the graphic in.
Yeah. Also, guys, we have a fantastic website that you could find. You just type in nerdcavenetwork.com, and all of our podcasts and YouTube content and articles that we have written.
Put it on the screen.
I'll pop up right there. Also, we have our podcast that comes out on Tuesday, which is the Nerd Cave Podcast. We have the Derek Diamond Experience, which is Thursday, and Pop Culture Palette comes out on Saturday.
Yeah, guys, if you want a preview of our awesome podcast, check that out on our YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, and keep coming back throughout the week to see our great content. Thanks, guys, for watching. This has been Zach,
Derek,
and Robbie.
Have a week.